Yes, we should start with a win.
I already know what the title of this episode is going to be too, you know? I think it should be Hillsboro, we have a problem. Like Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah.
Because we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yes, we should start with the highlight, the good parts. So I was going to pull up the tweet that we linked to in the last episode from Horvick because I think the results were basically the same as 26 years ago.
Oh,
Hold on
really?
just a second. Yeah.
83-17. That is.
So the result was,
Yeah, I was shoot. What did I say? 75-25?
yeah, and I
So,
I had I'd estimated they'd get up way higher. I was so wrong. So last time it was 87 to 13. This time 83 to almost 17. So like
yeah.
almost exactly the same.
So Oregonians don't like taxes, but they love Democrats. Okay,
I
got
I kid you
it.
not. It's like
I don't get it.
oh, dude, Oregon is so strange. Oregon is we love Democrats, we hate taxes, we love guns. It's a very strange thing, and I am not smart enough to explain it. We love socialist Democrats even. That's what's so weird about it.
Yeah, it's just it's odd. Well, one, I hate primaries. Well, let's just start there because I hate primaries. And then I just think that they're just not fun. They're not fun to run against your friends and your brothers like in arms, and then you get from the Democrat side as well as the Republican side, I just don't think it's much fun. Even talking to some Democrats, like they hate them too. It's just not a lot of fun. And so I like watching that stuff in Texas with like Trump endorsing Paxton over Cornine. And it's like,
Yeah.
those things are just, you're like, why would you get involved? And then everybody's like, why are you giving money to so and so? Why do you like this person? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a tough game to get into. So I like beating Democrats.
I don't want to be inconsistent here because, of course, I've run my fair share of
Yeah,
primaries and you
yeah,
have too. And it's some of the most fun mail to do in a lot of ways. But it's not fun to be against your friends, especially your fellow consultants and staffers. And usually you don't end up running against candidates you actually like, for the most part in the primaries. But everything else is, it's the same donors, it's the same consultants. It's the same
yeah,
staff, and people end up on different sides of things. So
yeah.
yes, but a good primary is a good primary, and it can be fun, but a lot of times there's parts of
Sure.
it that are not fun. So
Well, I mean, hey, I like to get paid, so I mean,
yeah,
that's usually the biggest thing with primaries is making sure you get your check.
even even general elections, man, especially if they're
Yeah.
not a guaranteed winner. Yeah, absolutely.
That's usually the biggest thing we worry about is making sure that we got everything paid before the election results are announced.
I think it's pretty important to. I think pay your bills if you're a candidate,
Yeah.
obviously. Try not to run into the red or do it in a strategic way. Hi, bud, what's wrong? Do you need a snack? You want to
Uh-oh,
finish your
I do need a
muffins?
snack. I'm hungry, Reagan.
Okay, you take
Oh, you're
those.
talking to your kids.
Yes, I need to eat something too, but he wanted his muffin.
I got on the Peloton this morning, so you get me with the
Oh
sweaty,
yeah,
my sweaty
man,
shirt on.
you're gonna be hungry
All right,
for
well,
sure.
let's start. Okay, enough BSing.
All right,
Let's
yes.
go.
So, I mean, huge win, obviously, on the tax issue. That is what people thought was going to happen in the sense that it was going to get demolished.
Yeah,
Very interesting to see it be very similar to last time. There was no yes campaign. There was also no campaign, though, either. So,
yeah,
I feel like this is the one place where you can identify that the unions got handed a loss because this was a union led thing. This was the unions going to the governor and to the
yeah.
legislature saying, you better not lay anybody off. And then they didn't lay anybody off. They found an alternate strategy when this got referred to the ballot. And then they moved it to May. And the thing is, though, is it's like, I can't identify anything locally, and this was the question was this going to impact a race somewhere? And as far as I could tell, it didn't have an impact on local
No,
races either. It
no.
was a thing unto itself. And so the Democrats' argument that it would damage them in November probably doesn't hold any water at this point,
Yeah, I don't think
as far
so.
as I can tell.
I'm with you. I can't see any indication in which, because a lot of like our local races tried to attach themselves to the no on,
Yeah.
the gas tax stuff, but people would clearly, the Democrats, because you had to have Democrats vote no on it. Lots of them showed up, voted no, and then literally voted for communist.
Yeah.
Like
If you
it's
don't agree with
how
me, by
is
the
that?
way, if you don't agree with us, by the way, send us a comment or your thoughts or where you see a correlation between this result and a local result. Because I mean, I haven't seen all the races necessarily. I
No.
could be wrong. I'd be interested in other people's analysis on that. But that's my take is that it didn't have an impact.
Yep, I agree.
So, all right, federal elections. I think the most interesting result, the best result for Republicans in a lot of ways, is David Brock Smith currently leading with 29% of the vote, the U.S. Senate Republican primary. In second place, Joe Ray Perkins with 27. In third place, Brent Barker with 23. The only way I explain Brent Barker's 23% is he was just first on all the ballots.
That could be. I thought that Russell McGowan guy would do a little bit better. But clearly, Joe Ray versus David Brock Smith was where it's at. There's still some ballots to be counted. 8,000 votes difference between the two. What's wild is that there was only 317,000 people actually voted in that one. So, compared to the governor's race, which was a lot
Yeah.
more. So,
The governor's race had 366,000, so about 50,000 more votes
yeah, people that
in that
just
primary.
just said, nah, which is interesting. What? Because it's usually the first one you get to, right? And there's a whole laundry list. Maybe there just wasn't a lot of advertising. I don't know. David didn't do a whole bunch. Neither did Joe Ray and stuff. So mostly just online fighting
Also, I
between.
always forget how few votes there are in these races. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
not, the raw numbers are not big.
No, it is wild. It's another reason why I hate him.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I hopefully we'll see how that holds. I mean, if the trends stay, he should be fine. 8,000 votes is a tough margin to overcome. If there's a bunch of counties in which he didn't do well that still have more to process, but most of I didn't really see a lot of blips around where Joe Ray was killing it and David was not, or what have you. So I would imagine those trends probably stay the same.
And unlike Democratic primaries, our primaries seem to kind of like report and then hold. Like there isn't a big swap in the
No.
end, as we're going to see here with some of these Democratic primaries. There's not a clear like both groups of Republican voters, right, for different candidates all behave the same way in terms of when they return their ballots. And
Yeah.
nobody, as far as I know, had an aggressive grassroots operation that would have changed things. And that's obviously different on the Democratic side. But congrats to Senator David Brock Smith for being the U.S. Senate nominee for the Republicans. I think this is a good thing. Having a competent, normal Republican at the top of the ticket is important. This is one of those chew gum and walk at the same time things that we just like have to get right. It's one of the things that we haven't always gotten right. We've nominated Monica Webby, who was a disaster. Mark Callahan was a disaster. Joe Ray Perkins, who, was kind of not sometimes a problem, sometimes just kind of not, you don't hear from her. But either way,
Yeah.
huge, huge.
Looks
I think
like
this is important.
statewide, I can tell there's about 100,000 ballots left to count
Okay.
based on what has been scanned and what has been tallied.
Yeah. Okay.
So statewide. So that'd
Yep.
be we'll see. I mean, we'll see. I mean, 100,000 is still a decent number, but of course, if you're only looking at like a third of those, if a third of those are Republican, so now you're only talking 30,000 ballots.
Right.
If a third or less than a third are going to be Republican, or maybe somewhere around there. So that means 30,000 ballots, give or take, and then she would have to win the lion's share of those remaining ballots to make up an 8,000 vote difference, right? So there's just really it's about impossible. So
Yeah.
All right,
And
governor's
then
race.
yeah, fifth district, real quick.
Oh,
Patty Dare
that's
beats
right.
Jonathan
Forgot about
Lockwood. He did a little better than I was expecting him to do. So I think that has a lot to do with. I'm guessing that Adair did not send a lot. I got one mailer from
that.
her. I got nothing from Lockwood, but that's a good result. Lockwood be a
Yeah.
very bad nominee. All right, governor.
Well, and then yeah, I mean, there's really not much to say in those federal races. Sorry. I mean, I know you're kind of talking about
No,
them.
they're
They're
very boring results otherwise.
yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Nobody nobody's really fighting anybody. Nobody really cares, and we're moving on.
Yep. All
You know.
right, governor primary. The Here's the thing, and I tweeted this on election night, maybe. Believe the polls, not social media. On social media, you would have thought Ed Deal is crushing it, David Medina is crushing it. I mean, Deal did, I think, oh, he did okay for his cost per vote's going to be very low, but at the
Yeah.
end of the day, the polling was right.
Yeah, and this is the one this is probably my one prediction I got I got correct.
Yeah,
I think I what I found like Christine, so we were about spot on with Dudley, Bethel, and Medina
yeah,
and Ed Deal, really. I mean, what did I have? I think I said 28, 29. So Ed Deal got 32. Christine crushed it. She did way better than I thought she
yep,
was going to slide into the low 30s, high 20s, and some of the other percentages were going to also equal to about 15%. But dude, like those other people in the race, like they got nothing. And I think it was just like collectively like 2%.
yeah. I think we were estimating those guys higher, but at the end of the day, people they consolidate towards
Yeah.
the candidates with a chance.
And they
So
consolidated to Christine, and that's what
yeah,
she's got to be pretty happy with those results to pick up 42%, which is pretty funny because that's about what Trey thought he was going to end up with.
yeah.
So,
Well,
based on their polling and stuff. So, congrats to them. And she ran a great race. She really did top. I mean, from November, she just put the, pedal to the metal and they just went. And, she wanted the rematch and she's got it. So we'll see what happens. But she wanted the rematch really bad with Tina, and so it's gonna be battle royale. Then I think you and I were texting her. I can't remember. We were like, the only thing we're upset about is we're just gonna have to hear how much they hate each other over the course of the next 6 months. Those two, and we'll see with the 44%. The 44% was the polling, if you believe that, from Dudley. Remember that he released the poll
right.
where Tina and Christine were at. So you have to,
44, 44.
it's
Yeah,
going to be the unpopularity of Tina Kotek versus Trump.
right.
Or, sorry, Christine Drazen, but they'll call her Trump.
They will,
She's
100%.
got
And
red hair too, Reagan. I don't know. It's going to get rough.
they'll run on the abortion issue as well, and
Yeah.
they'll probably try to attack her on voting rights and some things. But I think the question will be is depending on how if the governor can improve her popularity between now and then. I don't know that she can. I don't know what there is to do on that front right now. So that's the biggest
Well,
question.
it's a long summer.
It is a long summer. It's very true.
We'll see. We'll kind of see what happens. But I think that hey, Christine's got she's got a path, I'm sure, in mind, and then now she's got to consolidate the base over the summer, and then just figure out how to get above 44% at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the real test is how do you make unless you got some third party candidate plans, how do you
I
get above
don't think
44?
anybody is going to be able to put those plans together. And even if maybe the lefty, if there's a significant
Yeah, the left might.
distrust of Kotek, right? Yeah, if they decide they don't like her enough, they might try to put somebody on the ballot, and that would be a huge difference in the race and really affect
Yeah,
the race
the
as well. But I think
libertarian could kill her.
the other thing Drazen's going to benefit from here is I think it'll be easier for her to consolidate Republicans this time versus last time.
Yeah, I think so too.
So, I
I
mean,
hope
she's got a
so.
lot working for her. It may be that her strategy of running against Kotek again will actually work better than the 2030 strategy of
Yeah.
waiting for the open race.
And and this is, and we can move on to the legislative stuff, but my final take on the state stuff, just 2 days past, right, is it may be our only path because seeing what I'm seeing in these purple districts for legislative races, we might
Hmm.
have to go all in on a statewide race. I don't, because I mean, it's going to get brutal.
Yeah.
So statewide might be our only play.
I'm starting to agree with you, unfortunately, on that front. I don't want to because I'm a legislative guy through and through. But yeah, so let's take a look now at the
Okay.
legislature. So they did a weird thing. They updated the results page and they changed it around. It used to be, and I swear it was even this way when I looked at it on Tuesday night, where it would show the third district Democrat, third district Republican. Now it
Yes.
shows all the Democrat races first and all the Republican. I don't know what they changed. I hate it. They need to fix it, go back because I want to be able to compare results to results, obviously. But
Yeah. I'm with
uh,
you. I think I was looking Tuesday too, and then
I
somewhere along
swear it
that night they
changed.
switched it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so a
it was
bad
annoying.
change. I'm gonna reach out. I'm gonna email, ask them to fix it
Tobias,
for
let's go.
November.
Make it happen.
I guess it won't be primaries in November, it'll be generals, but so anyway, next time for primaries is fixed. So
Yeah.
Senate District 3 Democrats, we were kind of shrugging our shoulders. We had no idea what to expect here.
Yeah.
A very close race. Denise Kraus barely defeating Tonya Morrow, 35 to 34. Now there was some where we missed this on the pod, Brian. You had put it in the show notes that I forgot to talk about it. There was some sort of weird like scandal that sort of showed up there
Hmm.
at the end. And there was some sort of like issue with a staffer that Denise Kraus had hired
Yeah.
and then maybe fired and was accused of misconduct or something. So anyway, that could have hurt her there at the end, but it wasn't enough. Tonya Morrow, Jeff Golden endorsed Tonya Morrow,
Yeah.
does not defeat her. Denise Kraus is the Democratic nominee for Senate District 3. I think this is a good news for Republicans, though. She's a damaged candidate potentially with some potential
Yeah.
scandals hanging out there, heading into a race against a great Republican candidate, Brad Hicks, really well liked down in Southern Oregon. So we will see with that race, but I really like this matchup for Republicans, I think. And the Democrats are going to have to figure out how they're going to get money down there because, of course, outside money is something that is often hated by Southern
Yeah.
Oregon. And Brad Hicks is doing a good job raising funds. So we'll cover his fundraising over the summer and into the fall. But I think a good result for ours in this one, not for
It
Democrats.
looks like there's only about 2,000 ballots left to count total
Yeah.
for the county
Okay.
based on what I'm tracking here. So there might be a few more trickle in, but yeah, I think those results should hold.
Yeah. And I also think Denise Kraus has the endorsement of SEIU. So again, unless Golden had a grassroots operation we weren't aware of out there, I would agree that this was likely to hold. But you never know.
You do never know with
You
Democratic
never know with
primaries.
these Democratic races. Senate District 11. So this is an interesting one to me. Teresa Alonso Leon tried to mount a comeback bid in this primary to take on
Yeah.
this open seat currently held by Kim Thatcher. She did very poorly and loses to Virginia Stapleton, former Salem City Councilor, opponent against Kevin Mannix. Lost to him 2 years ago. So she's running for Senate now and she wins this primary handily, 67-32. I was kind of expecting this one to be closer.
Yeah, me too. I think this was, but there was also some issues with Teresa Alonso Leon's staff that she hired too. There was some stuff that broke amongst the Democrat ranks. So
Yes, she got unendorsed by Mother Pack
that's right. Yeah.
because they found out that she, in her private employment practice, hired Diego Hernandez.
That's
The
right.
for the I don't know how to frame exactly him, but anyway, he resigned from the legislature in a scandal that resulted in Andrew Valderrama,
Yeah,
taking his seat, and she was also the one that accused him of misconduct. So anyway, a lot going on there.
that was pretty
But
wild.
yes, that happened very late. I don't know that that affected the race. I think it was likely that she had already not gained any momentum, but maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it's so that's, yeah, a little scandal. Oh well, I think Stapleton against Kramer, it's going to be a good one. That's going to be one to watch. That's the one I'm a little afraid of. So,
Yes. So we need to watch that one. Obviously, very important for all Republicans to get behind and support Tracy Kramer. This is a seat that Republicans definitely need to hold, or we're going to have some serious problems
yeah.
in the legislature. All right. So this is the one that Brian, I had told you we should podcast on Wednesday because all the results are going to be
Yeah.
decided by Wednesday. I was wrong. Wednesday
Yes. Yes,
morning,
you were.
the result was Senator Solomon was ahead in her primary. I was hearing from many Democrats that they thought that she had locked that race, that it was dead, or that it was done rather, and that she had won. And then a late ballot update, as is common Wednesday afternoon, late Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah.
Myrna Munoz pulled ahead. She's now ahead 49, like 49 and a half to 48, basically. About 100 and what is it, 150 votes? I
Yeah,
have to do the
150,
math, but
155, somewhere in there.
and
Looks,
yikes.
yeah, it's really bad. A bummer for Salmon. There's about, let's see, ballots counted 119,000 in Washington County, and it says there's 137,000 turned in. So this one is definitely not over.
Not over, but what they need is for the remaining ballots to not be late harvested union
Yeah,
ballots.
yeah,
They need to hope that these are folks that voted early and then left the ballot on the kitchen table until the last minute, and that break more for Solomon like the early vote did versus these late
yeah,
votes, which I kind of assume, and I'm making an assumption. And it seems like Democrats, they have a more progressive late vote situation, but I do think that the unions were likely ballot harvesting in this race. I don't know how else
yeah.
you attribute these results to anything else.
Especially the late, and you and I know and have plenty of experience of getting our asses handed to us after an election's over by
Yeah.
late ballots. So from the
Yes.
union's procurement process. So I would think this, as well as that House District 27 race too,
Yeah.
is everything's breaking hard left at the end.
This
So
is going to create an interesting dynamic in the legislature if it holds, though, because one of the main things, so there's two things that play. First is being friendly with business. Solomon was perceived as being and listening to business interests. Washington County's generally been a moderate pro-business region. I mean, as late as 2014, right? This was a Republican-held seat by Bruce
yeah,
Starr. And then he ended up losing that race very close. And then it was Chuck Riley for a little bit, and then Solomon. But you know, the Washington County Chamber, Intel, all these folks that are known to be very pro business. This is going to have, I think, unfortunately, a negative impact on Democrats and their relationship with business. Obviously, electing an anti-business candidate, a DSA candidate, and then also the remaining Democrats that are still pro business, right? What are they going to choose to do? Are they going to continue to be outspoken? Are they be quieter behind the scenes? Are they going to do less? This is a really bad result, unfortunately, I think, for the long term of this
yeah.
direction of the state.
Well, and the dynamics of when you primary an incumbent and win, when that incumbent was supported by everybody else inside the caucus,
Right.
that's a very weird dynamic to walk into.
Yep.
Uh, if now we have a primary, like the two Republican primaries we'll chat about, but where none of them were incumbents, you just had one winner. It's just everybody just congratulates the winner and you move on, right? But having an
Yep.
incumbent, primary and an incumbent is going to be interesting because Solomon had a lot of good friends in that caucus.
Yep.
And I don't think people are going to take too kindly Munoz and it could divide that caucus because now you have sisters in the
Yeah.
legislature. I mean, that's wild in two different chambers. And remember, I think it was Shelley Bosart Davis. Remember when her sister was running, they were going to be the first sister duo. And
Yeah.
apparently, we might have that now, and but it'll be on the Democrat side.
Yes. And then also, I mean, what does this do to the I guess, perceived or generally more moderate Democratic caucus, right? It pushes them obviously more to the left.
Yeah,
And I don't know that Denise Kraus in Southern Oregon is going to be any less left than Golden. So right now you have an obvious leftward shift in the Democratic
yeah,
Senate caucus. And I mean, this is just unfortunately you have to add Solomon's name to the list of those like Rod Monroe who got primaried for voting no on key Democratic priorities.
yeah. Yeah, it's going to be pretty wild internally, and I don't know how that shakes out for leadership.
Yeah. Is
That could be,
leadership too deferential to their moderates? And will they get pushed now to be less differential to the moderates and more
yeah.
to knuckle
Well,
down and really force people to vote for some of this stuff? Although, again, I can't invent crazier stuff than they pass a lot of times,
yeah,
but you should see the stuff that dies that maybe won't die as
yeah,
much now. That's too
yeah. It's
bad.
gonna be crazy. All
So
right.
that's pretty much
Well,
all that mattered on the Democratic side of the ledger. The Republican side of the ledger is in several results that I think are pretty interesting.
yeah. On
First
this,
one, obviously, Senate District 6,
yeah,
Lane and Lynn counties.
your neck of the woods.
Yes, a close race.
Well, I think that I mean, clearly you could tie the Tibbetts and the Jackalow one because we could probably talk about those at the same time, just because
Yes.
they were running together, and that was clearly, where Jamie Kate was losing ground was just within that kind of hard right, male crowd that she wasn't going to win, and she was getting hit pretty hard from Tibbetts on being a liberal, I guess. And Jamie didn't really want to go negative. She didn't want to do certain things, and and she was going to just leave it up to the voters with who they wanted to vote for, and it wasn't her. So
Yeah.
she lost, and I think that's same with Sanchez, Angelito losing against Jackalow. There was a clear push in portions of Lynn County that just weren't, they just didn't want to hear it. Now, I've heard some people say it's an anti-woman and, Republican politics kind of thing. If that's the case, then how do you explain Drazen? Because Drazen won Lynn County, right? Right? Or did Ed Deal win Lynn County?
I got to double check, but
No, I
I'm
think
assuming
Ed
Drazen
Deal,
won Lynn.
no, I think Ed Deal won Lynn County.
Oh, did he really? I
Yeah.
was not paying attention to that.
Yeah, I
Hold
think
on
I
a
should
second.
look
Yeah.
that up. But that was the interesting um dynamic, and I don't know if yeah, if you look at Republican,
Wow. Yeah. He won it 50 to 33.
yeah, so
Hmm.
maybe there was some of that probably played into it, I guess. I think there was a third candidate, Nicole DeGraff, that if Jamie gets her votes, she wins, so close enough there. But I think that, so if there was an anti female, or if it was just an anti-Jamie bias. I don't know. You never know at the end of the day. I mean, she
Yes.
won Lynn County still, but she didn't win it enough to make up for what she lost in Lane County. So,
Yeah.
the only one got to be kicking himself right now is Harvick,
Right. Yeah. Because
that he didn't
originally
actually
Harvick
run because,
had wanted to run, and it
yeah,
looks like I would guess, I mean, I assume he would have got at least the same as Tibbetts would have got.
yeah.
Probably wouldn't have done worse than Tibbetts.
I
So,
wouldn't. I
yes.
wouldn't think so. And now he gets to look at Jack being in the Senate, and he's going to stay in the House forever. So,
Well, and this is one of we've talked about this dynamic where a lot of the House doesn't actually run for the Senate. They tend to stay put, right? And so you get a
yeah,
lot of these senators that have never been House members, and that's how you get them
yeah,
is when they decide, I'm going to keep my powder dry. I don't want to risk it. And so then you get like Jack, who's not served in office in Oregon anyway,
yeah.
before. So
Yeah. And then you got an Emerson Levy scenario where, she has to run the hard race all the time, and, Anthony Broadman just goes right to the Senate. So it
yeah,
happens on both sides of the aisle. And,
it does.
um, Jamie took a risk and she lost, and that's how things happen. So, what are you going to do?
Yeah,
I feel sorry for her. I think that but, hopefully Jack doesn't act like a Democrat like he was in California when he gets into the legislature. So we'll see. But who knows? I mean, if we're down to if we're only at 11 senators at that point, maybe it's more of a bit better play.
It
Yeah.
will be interesting to watch some of these new folks as they come in and who they decide to align themselves with. And I think that'll be
Yeah.
obviously something we can cover at the podcast in terms of who's hanging out with who and who's doing what.
Yep. That part will be interesting to play out. So, and then moving up to the coast, the only other one we had in the Senate was just the open seat for Weber's seat up in Northwest Oregon, and that was
Yes.
there was three people. It basically came down to Tripp Dietrich and Courtney Bangs. Courtney Bangs was the clear favorite all along to begin with, being the Clatsop County Commissioner, won a couple times there. So Tripp did his best to put a lot of his own money into the race, and that it was a besides Courtney Bangs going negative on Tripp, which I is a bummer that she had to go negative to still win by a wide margin. I find we never went negative on our side, so he just wanted to run a race, and we had some negative stuff ready to go. We never went negative. But I don't like doing negative in primaries. I just don't like it. But maybe I should learn to go super negative, super early, super fast all the time. Just screw everybody, right? And I just don't. I guess it's because I work in the building too, Reagan. I think that's probably why. But that might be a flaw in my
You got to define your
strategy.
opponent early, especially if they're not defined. And I think that that
Yeah,
is
could
one of
be.
the lessons that you can learn from some of these primaries is that coming out early to define somebody can work if they don't have a pre-existing, kind of record or familiarity, right? So,
Yeah.
and I think Tripp was definitely known, but he wasn't known in the political arena, right?
No, no, yeah.
And
Well, I didn't, winning was not, it wasn't like, oh, it wasn't really like, let's run to win. Let's just run to, I don't know really what, I mean, you always want to win, but we knew it was a very tough
yes.
uphill battle to begin with. So I think there wasn't really the expectation of winning wasn't as high, I would say, compared to like a Jamie Kate. So,
And I would say candidates too. I mean, don't take this loss and assume that you can never get elected. I think sometimes it's just about the right race at the right
yeah,
time, right?
yeah. Yeah,
And
most
I've
most
seen,
people lose their first race.
yeah, even Tim Knope lost his first
Yeah.
race, right? So I mean, you can definitely turn a loss into a victory later on, but it's about being consistent and going out there and working harder even than you did last time, right? That's what my dad learned, especially from his first
Yeah.
races. He could have knocked more doors and maybe have won his primary, and he didn't, and he learned from that, right? And he consistently knocked an enormous amount of doors every time he ran for office, and
Yeah,
certainly, I think that's the number one thing. We'll get to some other
I
races where I
agree.
think maybe the rumor was candidates weren't knocking, and you got to knock if you want to win, man.
It
I think
seems
in
to
a
be
lot of
that
these
way. On some
places.
level, I mean, definitely have to be active. While we're up there, we might as well do the House District 32 real quick.
Yeah. So this
That
was one of those ones where nobody knew what was going to happen, really. And the result, even on election night, was all over the place, right? Because it
yeah.
started, I think Adam Dean may have started up, or maybe Honnell was up in the first drop, and then Dean. And then it ended with Max Sherman, who appears to be the winner of this one.
Yeah, I think well, so Adam Dean won Clatsop County and Max
Okay.
Sherman and Christian Hanna won Columbia County, which wasn't that many votes, but and then Max Sherman won Tillamook County.
That's funny.
And
So it was a
Tillamook
regional
County
one.
was where the lion's share of the Republicans are in that district. So um, there was they didn't turn out as high, but Max won 60% of almost 60% of Tillamook County, which was really what going into this one, we knew that's what we had to do is we had to perform in Tillamook County. We always knew that Max Sherman was the one to beat. He's been there a long time.
Yeah.
Everybody in Tillamook knows him. And so, yeah, yeah. So he's going to move on and face Javity, and we will see what happens. This one I'm really, really worried about is where do the non-affiliated voters go? Because the Democrats turned out at a slightly higher tick probably similar to what the registration. It's already still a plus, I think, 4 or 5 Democrat voter registration advantage. So if non-affiliated voters don't swing right, then Javity could win again, and that would be a bummer. And
Yes.
in what looks to be probably a worse cycle than we had in 2018 coming up
Yeah. And
at this
that's
point.
what obviously what the Republicans nationally need to and are working on trying to change the environment. But if they do not succeed by making some changes or passing some bills or doing something, getting gas prices down, this could be a pretty challenging election, unfortunately, in one where Javity should be vulnerable and beatable.
Yeah.
But there's always a chance that we can still pull the victory out, even in a tough year, because of how high turnout is in Oregon. Like we've said
Yeah.
before, we're a little less susceptible to wave years on both sides.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be it. We'll see. I mean, we got a long ways to change it, right? I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen between now and November. I get all that. But if you look at it's not going to get dramatically better for Republicans at this point at the state level because Trump will still be president. You can't change that. There's some there's some
Right.
systemic things that we're not going to be able to change. Yes, could gas prices and some of those other things get better? Sure, but it's like who do people blame for that, right? And so I just don't see Trump's going to get some blame no matter what, and I just don't see how it gets better for us. Um, at this point, I don't see how it gets better for Republicans in Oregon.
Yeah. And what I was hearing from, I was listening to Ruthless, and they were talking about it's not so much that the party out of power wins, it's just the party in power loses.
Yeah,
And obviously, it fit nationally, that's Republicans. And so maybe because Democrats are in charge of the state government, and so it's sort of a shared blame situation, and that also helps
uh,
insulate the Republicans from more losses. But
we can hope.
what else matters in the House of Representatives?
It looks like Adam Baker is barely, I mean, he's up by 112 votes in Clackamas County.
Against is that Sue Leslie?
Yep, in that primary. So Adam is, he should hold on to that one, I think. So, that one I'm a little concerned about for the fall too, just because if you just look at sheer the on the other side of that is the Democrat side. See, and I hate this thing because I have to scroll up and down all the time.
Yep.
Tobias, I'm telling you, buddy, let's get this fixed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Um,
a problem.
and it looks like Michael Sugar dispatched the perennial candidate Charles Gallia.
I thought that would be closer. Holy smokes, that was a straight up blowout.
Yeah, he smoked him pretty well. So to be Sugar versus Baker, that is kind of funny. The Sugar and the Baker.
Oh man.
I just realized that. That's hilarious. If we don't get more turnout though with Republicans, I mean, we're going to get smoked in that race. I mean, I just, nearly 7,000 Democrats voted in that primary and only 5,188 Republicans.
Well, obviously, and friend of the
So,
program, Anessa Hartman, she did very well in her last race in that one, not against Adam Baker, right? She had a
mhm.
different opponent 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But if the seat performs the same, unfortunately, we're gonna have to take some credit away from her on that and just say this is the new performance of House District 40,
Yeah.
and not the massively popular incumbency that advantage that maybe we thought she had.
Yeah, this is true. I think I that's a good point to lay into it. Well, we'll see. I mean, we're going to see, but based on what I saw in Clackamas County with our next pod that we'll talk about with Clackamas County races, I mean, Ben West is losing. Clackamas County, maybe they've been injured by the Multnomah County people moving to Clackamas County.
That's what I was actually starting to think about that as well. Now, I know the primary results aren't always indicative of the general election, so I understand that. But you can't help but compare the numbers, obviously, because it's the only data you have. And like, here's another one. So District 7, Corey Rodley easily won that primary with 60% of the vote to be the Democratic nominee. Compared, so they got in that race 5,200 votes that
Yeah.
or 5,200, and then you scroll down. to the race with Adam Wilson in the seventh, 2,800 votes. Not a great showing. Now, obviously, not competitive, not as much reason to vote. I totally get, I understand all that. Not great though. You'd like to see those
No,
numbers be a lot closer.
because turnout is indicative to what's going to happen in the fall. Like if they're not turning out now, they're not turning out in the fall,
And you're
right?
not
And
winning
that's
independents and navs 80-20,
no,
right? So that
no.
would make up for that. So,
And another spot where we won, Lovell won that commissioner race 4 years ago and then got destroyed.
right.
So that's basically House District 7. So,
Yep.
um, you mean Fireside? My Fireside in 7 didn't win?
Did not work. The
Yeah.
spillover from the negatives in Clackamas appears to have beaten her. It also
Yeah,
probably was had something to do with Rodley getting all the endorsements and the money.
that's
But
funny.
yeah. All
Dick
right.
Smith won. I think that's important to note.
Yes,
55,
House District.
45.
Yep. And I think that is, I would say maybe a tad closer than I expected, but about, I mean, you definitely have, he's got some challenging headlines to deal with, obviously. So,
That's a
that
good
could
way of
be,
putting
that could be tough.
it.
And Doherty had just run a race for state senate too, so he was able to carry some name ID over, which probably helped him as well.
Yeah, I think so. And I think there's just some people that just don't like Greg, right? I mean, they don't like the way he goes about his job and that shows up in the 45%, but 55% still, voted for him and, still doing okay. And what you win by one vote or, 1,000 votes, it doesn't make a difference. A win's a win's a win.
A
So
win's a
just
win.
hold
Al Sister
on.
51, Matt Bunch, the Crosstabs program
Yeah.
propels him to victory in his primary or maybe his incumbency in great
Yeah,
campaign.
right.
We may never know.
Yeah.
But yes, friend of the program, Matt Bunch, wins his primary. So that was good to see. I'm
Hop and
scrolling through.
let's hop ship to that state rep 27 district on the Democrat side.
Oh man. So this is another one of those where first results and even the second results of the night had the what I'll call the good Democrat, if there is such a thing, which I still think there is, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
They're still Democrats, but
Ashley
there's
Hartmeyer Prigg.
yeah, she was ahead in that
Yeah,
race.
by a
And
decent
now
amount too.
and so that's the thing that's crazy with these Democratic primaries is how fast
Yeah.
they can shift with the ballot harvesting or whatever else was going on in that particular race. But now, Democratic Socialist,
Communist
pro-Palestine,
Carpenter.
Palestine Teachers Association, Portland Teachers Association, Tammy Carpenter appears to be leading, and I think close, obviously. So, like you said, what the
150
outstanding ballots
votes.
do matter, but yeah,
Yeah,
not looking
150
good.
votes. Yeah, that's wild. So, and that one, and I wasn't sure, but I was talking to a couple of D's, and they think if she wins, that really divides that House caucus too. So, because there was a lot of them that threw down for Ashley, and that's another one of those where, and maybe they'll get over their hurt feelings, but because it's an open seat, so it's not like it was, wasn't an incumbent. Because Daniel Wynn won really well and easily in his primary, so
Yeah, but the unions were divided in that race, and that
they
was the
were.
difference, which is in this one they were not. And unfortunately, this is one of those clear situations again where you're replacing a moderate like Helm with a far left person like Carpenter. That's a problem. And yes, I
Mhm.
do agree it's going to divide their caucus. It's going to, I think, trigger the creation of the Socialist Caucus as well, which is going to be a really interesting dynamic to follow in session as well. And maybe Munoz will create one in the Senate. We don't know, or she'll be the only Senate member of a joint caucus. I mean, that'll be interesting to see. And then who does that pressure in to have to try to participate, right? Do some of those central Portland guys like Nelson and others get pushed to have to participate in a socialist caucus or, watch their back for a primary in 2 years, right? It'll be interesting to see what happens.
I'm pretty sure Nelson's DSA. He had it on his website forever.
It was there, and then maybe it
Then
wasn't.
it
I'm gonna go
left.
look.
Yeah.
I'll go look right now and see where
Yeah.
he's at right now. But yeah, I've never
But
heard
I'm
him.
with you. Yeah, those guys are going to feel all of them, if they're want to be maybe on the normal side, they're going to be kind of pushed to that left side of
Right.
the area, and which doesn't bode well again for Republicans. especially. So if that means it's just that much harder of a fight to make, the bills that come through the legislature, that just makes those fights that just that much harder. So, you know.
I think maybe he hasn't updated his website because his endorsements include Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum and Labor Commissioner Val Hoyle. So
Somebody's paying
that's
attention to his
State
website.
Representative Brian Clem, Tiger
Nice.
Tualatin School Board President Ben Bowman. This is funny.
You should send that to Bowman.
I will. That's pretty good.
That's
Oh man.
all right. Well, hey, real quick, because I got to catch a plane.
Yeah, no
Um,
problem.
Dwayne Yunker fends off Seth Benham, so that was a primary there. Seth was,
Yeah,
had a decent amount of money, but Dwayne clearly Josephine County, which voted for Drazen, which I thought was interesting. But that,
yeah.
uh,
Despite all of Younker's tweets.
yeah, right, it's crazy. Yeah, you
Again,
couldn't even
believe
hit. He
the
couldn't help
polls.
Ed Deal win his own county.
That is interesting too. And I think like this just goes to tell you that voter behavior is not always like they don't always have all the information. We're political nerds. We have a lot of the
Yeah,
information all in one spot. A lot of times they don't. They go, Dwayne Younker's a state rep. He's the current state rep. He hasn't done anything bad. I'm electing him.
yeah,
Drazen, well, I saw her on the ballot last time. I'm going to vote for it. Like it'll get down to be that simple
yeah,
for a lot of folks. And so that just tells you that voters and the fact that we have individual one person, one vote means they don't all think like a monolith. Everybody thinks differently and they get to make choices.
yeah, yeah. It's true.
So,
I mean, it is odd. So, Boomer Right seat, District 9, Claire Lynn easily won there.
yeah, I was a little surprised by the margin there. I mean,
Yeah.
she did obviously raise and spend quite a bit of money and that can help.
He raised a ton of money and yeah, and then Troy, he had some drag with his wife being a Democrat and stuff and Claire getting the right to life endorsement and Troy didn't. So I mean, but it was definitely a way higher margin. We thought the 60-year-old versus a 26-year-old would be
Yeah.
I guess that's not a problem. So
No. And I
yeah.
And that, I mean, that's something that Republicans will obviously watch in terms of, okay, who do I have? Do I have the support from the certain groups,
Hmm.
and pay attention to that? So I think that bolsters, the need to have pro-life candidates in a lot of ways. I mean, you're seeing the evidence of that in some of these races where they're a very pro-life party. Um, and so that I think that hurt Dudley too at this point.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think it is a wedge issue for, especially in a Republican primary. And it's just not one you can overcome when I
Yeah.
don't believe, Dudley proved it, Troy proved it. So, yep, point taken. I think you have to just look at it that way, right? So we talked about Jack already. I mean, both those two were pro-life, but
Yeah.
Angelita was kind of hit by they hit her pretty hard on what showing up Black Lives Matter with the mask on.
Yeah. They had a picture of her in a mask that they put on a couple different
Yeah,
mailers.
I don't know
And
if that would have changed any of that,
I
anyways. I
don't
think that's
either. I think also, again, in the not going negative, she only did one mailer against him on the fact that hasn't been a Republican. He changed his registration on January 7th of 2021. I don't know if there was something that happened the day before or what, but anyway, so he left the Republican Party and then rejoined
mm,
but he was still because he had support from there's this crazy Lebanon group called the Conservative Alliance, and they back so he may have still that may have covered him on that front and given people the view he was still the more conservative candidate in a lot of ways.
interesting. Moving right up from Jack was into 17. Dan
Yeah,
Farrington wins Ed Deal's seat. This is Ed Deal's seat that he left. So,
yeah. This one
fair.
surprised me as well.
Yeah, I think except for, that adage of, I mean, Ed did very well in this district. And he's the endorsement that Farrington, he endorsed Dan. And so riding those coattails, Kim Wallen always tells me that in a state rep seat, the person that hands it off to you, it has a good margin on that one. But Gerard was endorsing Beth Jones, and and Farrington won by about 700 votes, which is roughly 10% of the electorate. So,
Yeah,
yeah, that was a bummer for Beth because this is her second time now trying to run in this seat.
yeah.
And Dan moved over here because he ran against Paul Evans in 22.
That's right. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, so he moved into the district and then became friends with Ed and won. So I don't know. Nobody slugged mud in this seat, so we
You
didn't
didn't
go
see any
negative.
negatives in that one?
Dan didn't
Okay.
go negative. So I mean, hey, wish Dan well. I like Dan. I recruited him in 22 to
Yeah.
run against Paul Evans. So I'm looking forward to having him in the caucus and hopefully he'll be a good dude, which I think he is. And yeah, it'd be nice to have him there. So it was an open seat, and you just, put your marbles out there and you see how it plays.
Yep.
So
I think last one is District 18 with
yeah.
Amanda Steele beating Brian Starr 42 to 33, so a 9.8 to 9 point victory.
And
They're
Ben
great
Fisher.
showing for her. Yes, Ben is there also. He has 11%. He did come in
Yeah.
third.
Yeah, he did okay. I mean, three guys, or four guys and a female. I mean, she definitely, played on the female thing. I thought Brian would do a little bit better. We ran out of money at the end. That might have been the difference. I don't know what she did at the end. I didn't really see a whole bunch from her, but sometimes when again, that goes back to that thing like, are they really, or is the Republican Party wanting angry white men now and moving away from women? Well, Amanda Staley would say no, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but
and maybe, I mean, getting back to that, I mean, I have said before, I've been on both sides of it, but I think I've been on we need to run women candidates because they do better. And then I've also just been on the sense that, like, even if that is our perception with the general broad electorate, Republicans don't vote based on gender or race, it doesn't seem like, or
really
age.
doesn't. Yeah, it
So
really
they
doesn't.
don't
Yeah.
discriminate at all. We're the least discriminatory party, Brian. That's what I'm trying to bring out here.
Yeah.
Democrats are often discriminating. Um,
Hey, Amanda's great though. I mean, I talked to her before.
I've heard some great things about her as
Yeah,
well.
and she's a farmer, and so she's got it. Comes from the greenhouse community, right? So she's part of that whole crew, and they threw in a ton of money into her race. I mean, I think they threw everything they had in their pack
Wow.
at her and you know what though, Reagan, that's what you should do when you're an
Go all in
association.
to win.
Yeah, you
Absolutely.
have one of your
Yes.
members, like she was president of the nursery association.
Yeah.
So it's like Jeff Stone and that whole crew, good kudos to you guys for throwing all in behind one of your members.
Yeah.
Because we've seen some other people that run from their membership and then they're like, "Hey guys, you wanted me to run," and then they're nowhere to be found. You're like looking
Here's
for
5 grand.
support.
We help you win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's super solid. That's like I think the silver lining in this one is that she was able to get her group to really throw down for her and win. And so that's awesome. I mean, from that standpoint, an open seat again, and it's just and it's a full Republican seat, so there's no general election here to worry about. So it was put your best cards out there, and she done a good job. So, and I like her. I think she's a good person, and she's going to be a good state rep. So.
Yeah.
Um, I
All
think
right.
that's I think we about covered it, right? I mean, I don't know
District
if there's
52, Scott Heggie. Is it Heggie?
Hagee, yeah, yeah,
Heggie.
good
Yeah.
guy, good guy. Excited for him. Clock. He was a only problem is he's a commissioner, so we'll see. Hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see. Against on the Democratic side of the ledger, Hake Sanders,
Oh, that's right. We didn't talk about that one. Yeah.
who did not have most of the endorsements, did not have the unions
No.
with him.
Younger
But
guy too, which is
yeah.
interesting. Another one of those where even Democrats, I guess, they don't age discriminate either. So that
Well, I
was
think actually that they prefer younger candidates. I mean, I think Virginia Stapleton's younger than
that's
Teresa
true.
Alonso Leon. I think
Yeah.
Democrats are having a pro-youth movement right now.
Yeah.
And I
That
think
is
that
true.
there's a lot of evidence of that.
Yeah, Hank Sanders won pretty handily. I mean, 45-35, so
Yeah.
the son, nepotism exists on the Democrat side again.
Listen, he earned this, so it's not nepotism exactly.
Wait a minute. How much money did his mom give him? That's what we have to
Oh,
look.
that's a good question. While you're looking at that, I mean, so the only group really that he had an endorsement from was Moms Demand Action, and the rest, it was just all individual endorsements. He had some legislators, obviously, and stuff like that. But yeah, he had some. A huge credit to him. I met him very briefly at the end of the last legislative session. Seems like a great guy. I am really looking forward to getting to know him and see what he's about at the legislature. Um, he does have
For
at the very top of his issues page restrictions on data centers, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, that's going to
Um,
be, especially in that district with Google being in the
right.
Dalles and stuff, that is going to be that issue is going to play out in that race.
Yes.
So that's going to be very interesting. So Senator Reynolds did give him $4,000 totals.
It's not enough to buy a seat. That's not enough. You got to have million. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I think it's great, and I'm sure I saw them out door knocking and stuff like that. There were other things that you can do as a legislator to, push
Sure.
support. But I mean, look, this is one where they overcame the unions, and the unions got beat, right? And so maybe they
Yeah.
were they were too busy knocking doors in Hillsboro to make it over to Hood River, right? They were just going alphabetical, but oh, my son just fell off the couch.
What's so funny is he's anti-data center on his thing, but I see a bunch of expenditures to Facebook for ads.
That is always my favorite. Hi, bud. It's okay.
I
It's
love that stuff.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes. My favorite is the AI generated graphics opposing data centers. That's funny
Yeah.
stuff right there.
That is pretty
We'll
funny.
cover that more over the summer because I think data
Yep.
centers and socialists and yeah, those are going to be some of the top two things that we are going to end up dealing with at the legislature. So,
Yeah, it's going to be
um,
pretty wild, Reagan. I think we're in for it'll play out in these campaigns because the campaigns will give us a preview of where people stand on certain issues. But like the data center stuff is gonna bubble up, and we'll talk about that with the local elections one when we do that because that really came to play in Deschutes County too, and it's going to be huge over here. But
and the question I think business has to ask themselves at this point, because I think we've been trending a direction where business has been looking for good Democrats, and they've invested quite a bit into finding and supporting and defending good Democrats. And those investments, for the most part, are not paying off in the races where it really matters. And so the questions they have to ask themselves is, are they going to give up on political involvement, or are they going to invest in Republicans, right? Where are they going to go, right? And I think the first place they're going to go is Drazen,
yeah,
a candidate who has a good infrastructure, who has run solid races before. And then are they going to invest in the legislature or not? I'm not sure. I don't know if you can make an argument for it. I think as you get closer to the end is the only time you'll know, but that's when the investments matter the least. And so they're going to have to kind of make a determination in the summer. Are we investing in Republicans winning or not? That's going to be an important to see where the fundraising lines up, right? Do
yeah,
Republicans can't afford at the legislature to get absolutely blown out of the water on fundraising like they did last time with the leaders there. So uh, that's a
yeah,
big question. Something to watch as well.
yeah, yeah. Pretty crazy. We'll watch. All right, buddy. Well,
All right.
get out to it. I'm heading down to Arizona for a week, so
By the way, for anyone who's worried, our couch has a little pull-out step, and he just missed his foot and fell on the floor on that step. He's fine now. I just want to make sure. I said very casually he fell off the couch. I want to make it clear he's doing okay. He's now standing outside watching his dog, so
That's
he's
funny.
good. Owen's
Okay.
fine, everybody.
God bless you. All
Well,
right,
thanks,
buddy.
Brian. Have a good
Talk soon.
time.
All right, later.
Bye.